Good afternoon, YouTube. Good afternoon to my fellow Canadians. So here's the video that I promised um, a little while ago. I promised to continue making these videos on any and all construction zones that I can find in Calgary to demonstrate the perpetual state of construction that Calgary has been in for quite some time. Essentially, after Mayor Nenshi gained the support of Calgary and victory in Calgary, he began destroying the city piece by piece. And by destroying, I mean literally destroying it. What his philosophy, at least, is in practice, construction moves into an area to remake that area as they see fit. And I can only understand that the direction comes from the top, and that in the past Calgary has never been so radically changed. So, with that said, perhaps by showing you some of the construction projects that have been going on, and really, I might add, if we're trying to create austerity measures in this time, I would argue to hold on any and all projects that are occurring right now, except for the ones that have the most, let's call it, priority. But the one thing I want to impress upon you, my viewers, is that when City Council, when Nenshi decides to break something, they often go through with it whether it's necessary or not. And the consequence of that has been the remaking of many, many, many road works through the city. And I don't know the exact total, but I will find out. And what it does is it essentially creates a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos, blocking of traffic, traffic inefficiency to get to and from work or to travel through the downtown, or essentially to go wherever you have to go. So there is a massive discrepancy that's existing in a lot of the projects, which are not properly thought out and poorly executed in terms of how to get the traffic flowing again. So here's a clip that, well, I have several of them because I tried to capture from several construction sites. So here's some clips that I found. Thank you for your attention. As you can see here, there are blocking gates to limit Memorial Drive to one lane. They didn't exist 8 years ago, or maybe longer than that. This was to decrease Memorial Drive from, well, in anticipation of that, people using Memorial Drive to get home from work. As you can see, it hasn't really worked all that well. So there's still quite a few cars piling up, but there are fewer than there were before. Of course, people adapt as best they can. But essentially, it has done next to nothing. It has created a great amount of inconvenience for people that want to access Memorial Drive to go to work in the morning. So here we have the starting point of Memorial Drive crossing over Crowchild Trail, and I apologize for the blurriness in the camera, but I have taken video so that I can show you how they restrict traffic and nobody is working. In the past, it was far worse. There is a great deal of constriction in traffic flow um, in every direction. If it's rush hour, you can spend a great deal of traffic locked up, even more than before, but this time mostly due to incompetence of construction works. Sometimes it's extremely dangerous. Um, I myself, for one, feel that the construction could be far better managed if they had done it like they had done in the past, where they had tried to do a lot of the road works during the night and during the day try to leave the highways open as much as possible, but they no longer practice that method. I'll skip ahead here. Oh, I'm very sorry about the blurriness. There we go. Now it's back in focus. So, the practice of construction works, the ultimate goal was to force people to use public transit and bicycles or walking. Essentially, the policy under this mayor is that he doesn't like cars. Um, he does his best to restrict traffic flow as often and as inefficiently as he can, so that the motivation not to take your car is very high. In addition to that, I might add that the traffic signals under Nenshi have actually gotten longer and more inefficient. And I would challenge anybody who has lived in a community for a long time, if your memory is well, if you care to remember such things, I would ask you if you would recollect, in your areas at least, how much longer the traffic lights stay closed when they used to be open. What I mean is that a light with a lot of traffic flowing through it, let's say, crosses a street that has traffic that has maybe one or two cars. In the past, there was a cable running through the street that would get tripped whenever a car would pass from the non-busy street onto the highway, let's say, and that would trigger the light to change. However, I think that there is a new system in place in which it anticipates changing the light according to timing schedules, and that itself has created mass inefficiency, because you'll be having maybe 60 cars, depending on the light, waiting, and then 2 cars that pass through. And essentially most of your commute time is wasted waiting for stoplights. And I would ask any Calgarian that has experience with that, let me know, because it is a reality. Essentially, the way I view it is stuff like this, and I'm sorry it's a little bit dark. Let me see if I can make it brighter for you. I will make it as max brightness as I can. So when you look at the traffic works here, this is not necessary. The prioritization of these projects occur at a time when the city is barely managing to get by, is having to borrow money like crazy. So this project is an excessive indulgence of the taxpayer money. and whether or not it's actually required is debatable, because the existing roadworks that I see, as I see it, are more than capable to handle the traffic flow as they existed before destroying things. And if you ask any people that inhabit this area for a long time, they'll report the same thing. They'll say something like, "Oh, the city of Calgary came in, they completely changed the interchange, installed the light, and now I'm waiting almost twice or three times as long as I did before they did the construction." So they don't make things better, they make things worse, a consequence of poor planning and poor execution, but also failing to improve is a huge detriment to the city, because not only does it waste our taxpayer funds, it puts us in debt also that we can lose. Essentially, it's a loss for everyone that utilizes that system. So I say that it has been deliberately made inefficient to discourage people from driving. That's my suspicion. And if you look here, this is the overpass that exists, that crosses over Glenmore Trail using 37th Street. That was a very efficient and nicely designed system with a bow. And there's the bridge that's going to replace it in the distance there. Essentially, the motivation for this project was to create a more direct route to Tsushima Nation for their casino. I would argue that at current capacity, the bridge that we're driving on right now, I'm not driving, I'm just watching the recording on their computer, is more than sufficient enough to get vehicles in and out. But you see, they've actually created a problem so they can solve a problem by blocking this route here that used to be open, pardon the truck, blocking this route here that used to be open that leads directly to the casino. This entire piece was rebuilt so that it would force traffic to go down this road, and then at the end of this road, turn right and you can access the casino. So it's nonsense. There's no logic required, essentially. You're just looking at the way they designed the roadworks and you're just like, why are you doing this? Here is another part I recorded on the way back. So now you can see on your right, or pardon me, on your left. No, it just got blurry at the second I picked it out. There. This is the new bridge. This is the existing lanes. I don't know if you can see it there in front of us. That's the existing lanes that have been modified and rebuilt. I'm not an engineer, but I know the science of traffic efficiency. Speaking on behalf of myself, that I've used these roads as long as I've been driving, which has been more than 20 years. So it's nice to have a direct access to the casino. However, is it necessary? No. Is it necessary to tear up how many hectares of land that they have here torn up to create a more, not even an improved system, but a system in which they can make work? No. We don't have the extra money to waste on it right now, and they're still doing it, which is a deliberate ignorance of, their responsibility, essentially, to the taxpayers to try to be fiscally responsible. And I look at it, there used to be a traffic circle at that point you just saw, and it handled the traffic from this bridge, the traffic from Glenmore, and the traffic heading from 37th Street going south, let's say. And to get on to westbound Glenmore with ease. It was perfect. A traffic circle, it did all those things beautifully, simultaneously, and simply. And look at this. It's a complete disaster that got replaced with lights and so on that blocked traffic here. It blocked traffic coming from 37th Street. It blocked traffic from coming on the bridge where we are now. It's a block, essentially. A traffic circle is not a block. The only block is a yield sign, which exists when you're passing and you're waiting for somebody to get out of the traffic circle, and then you go. It's at longest, it's 4 cars to wait. And at shortest, it's no time to wait at all. So it's like, what is the point of that? My apologies, I passed over the... okay, so now we're heading down, and the sun is bright, so it's blocking my camera. But essentially, you can see here, this bridge is a nice looking bridge for sure, brand new, with all kind of little designs on it. And you see here all the parked cars and the fact that they blocked up that lane, and all the equipment and all the excess land that they're requiring for this so-called project. I have to say, is a complete waste of city resources, city money, and citizens' time passing through this incompetent piece of garbage. And you'll see it later on when I pass through the U-turns, which are very, very stupid. Essentially, I've never seen a turn signal that's like a complete U-turn before, which have conveniently been introduced all over the city. And I would say that at the very least, it's really silly. Not conventional would be another word. Confusing would be another word I'd use. And they're all over the place. So whoever put that together didn't think too much, in my opinion. Here is the former lane on your left side here that's been blocked. Oh, I'm sorry. I think we've passed through it already. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Here is the previous lane that you could use to turn left to access, I can't remember what's the name of the road that goes there, but it was a very direct route. There was a light that existed there, a turn signal, turn left and go to West Hills, or, to 69th Street, essentially. So now that's all been eliminated. You have a left turn signal that is a U-turn signal. It is so silly. Generally, my rule of thumb for traffic is this. The simplest ways are the best. Traffic flow is very difficult to make efficient, but at least if you remove as many lights as you can and you try to get the traffic flowing as best you can, unencumbered, and directly from point to point as you can, then you've succeeded. Essentially, if I can, limit my commute time, that's less pollution for the environment, that's less time I'm driving on the road. So why would you not want that? You know what I mean? If the ultimate aim is to make cars disappear, I disagree with that point. Like, forget it. Why would you want to make cars disappear? It's absolutely stupid. It's an essential way of life. But you can make the routes more efficient by letting the lights, studying them and then ensuring that you time them in the most efficient manner and seeing to it that the traffic flows nicely, unlike what you see here. So there's the infamous U. I don't know if you saw the turn signal, but that was extremely silly. And these cars coming from the opposite direction will make a complete U. It's a nearly 90-degree turn. So actually, it's more than that. It's a full. So it's half a degree. It's 180 actually. So um, I look at this with a lot of wondering why on earth would they build it this way. And to me, it's so inefficient. It creates traffic blocking so effectively you wouldn't believe it. In a city with only a few million, 1.3 million, last I checked, it's probably different now, maybe more, maybe less, I don't know. But why all this excessive roadworks for a population that small? We're not Toronto, we're not Montreal, we're not Vancouver. There's no need. I mean, it's so pointless and such a waste of money that we can't afford right now at this moment. I wanted to direct your attention here quickly. So they're building another bridge, and may I say, this bridge is actually a football field's length from the bridge behind us. It's so close. It's just, I wonder why on earth they would need to have that many that close together. And the answer that I can think of is that they must be desperate to waste money. And they have no ideas and nothing more to do except to waste time. And okay, we'll open up 4 interchanges in the space of a mile. So, to me, it's the ultimate expression of wastefulness and stupidity. I remember Calgary as it was. I can tell you it was far more efficiently designed in the past, far more effective at getting traffic to get where they need to be, not wasting people's time. So, my fellow Calgarians, I hope you enjoy this video. I did not enjoy having to see the workers doing next to nothing while the entire terrain is essentially torn up by earth movers and bulldozers, and at a snail's pace, you could say. Everything is operating very inefficiently, very slow. It was a beautiful day today. It was +5, +7 actually, and it was a lovely day to work. But essentially, what I'm trying to say in this video is that there is a complete lack of appreciation for that which came before and that which already existed. So my next video that I post for you, I will post some more of the roadworks, and I hope you like my video. Cheers.